My name is Chris. About a year ago, I realised I was unhealthy, unfit, and unhappy with myself. This is how I made those changes. Video 2. Views that never cease. Working out. Hey guys, this video is going to be covering the methods I took, the patterns I developed, and what I initially had to start doing, which got me into the habit of frequent exercise. Because if you're anything like me, you've tried exercising in the past, you thought you developed a good system, and then very, very quickly it became too hard and suddenly you stopped getting out of bed in the morning. I multiple times was someone that would think I've got a great regimen set in place, and I would start doing it, and then one day I'd be like, you know what, I'll just give it a miss, and then suddenly it's game over. I've stopped doing it. After years of trying to find a system that worked for me, I've probably found the most simple system, and to me it's worked, and this is a video of me sharing what that is. Now, I'm going to be very upfront and tell you straight up, I did not join a gym. I did not buy any fancy equipment or spend an exorbitant amount of money. All I did was do something that I feel most people are able to do. Now, again, of course, this isn't going to help with everyone, but it helped with me, and if you're anything like me, this could possibly help with you. So how did it all begin? It's about a year ago. I would always be complaining to my partner Kat about how I looked, how I felt I looked, how I felt like I always looked like shit. She was probably sick of hearing of it, and there was only so much she could say that was supporting me, but I knew I had to eventually make a change. But she decided that, you know what, she needs to make those changes as well. Now, again, I'll always say that she always looked amazing, but this is something that she wanted to do, and I was happy to be there with her to try and do this as well. So we set a first goal of let's get up early in the morning and go for a walk. We went for a walk. It was no more than maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, not too intense, but it was small, it was easy, and we enjoyed our time together. Next day, we did the same thing, got up that little bit earlier than normal, went for a walk. Again, it was just a loving, nice time together, nice, calm, easy walk. Had a bit of a chat. We got to catch up in a time of day that we don't really get to see each other much, so we were seeing more of each other. It was fun and it was easy. I looked forward to it. It was something that was a great way to start the day. And right away, I sort of felt better at work. After all these days of getting up that little bit earlier, but then going for a walk, having a proper breakfast, and then actually having a proper getting ready for work, I was feeling great at work. Before this, I would wake up as late as humanly possible, sometimes skip breakfast, and then go straight to work and feel flat. Did it for years and years and years. I just thought that's how people did life. But turns out if you get up earlier and get a few things done, you feel a lot more accomplished and you feel a lot more awake, a lot more energized. The beauty of going with someone else, if you can, is you're not just letting yourself down by not going anymore, you're letting someone else down. And suddenly that has a lot more weight. Suddenly you realize, you know what, I don't want to let that person down. I don't want them to think that I'm quitting out on this. So you just make sure you get up and do it. And you know what? The other person will feel the exact same way. You're doing it with them. They're not going to want to let you down as much as you don't want to let them down. That was what we started with at first. And that was how I got into the habit of getting up earlier and going for a quick walk. Nothing too hard, nothing too strenuous. Just something that made me feel good. I would keep doing this. And then every day I'd be talking to people at work about my walk. Hey, what'd you get up to this morning? I got up, went for a walk. This led to people asking me, hey, did you go for a walk today? Yes, it's a wanky thing to talk about, and a lot of people think that you're being very over the top and holier than thou by talking about your exercise. But if someone asks and then you give them a response, they will reply back. Suddenly they're like, hey, good work, you're doing well. Eventually, we did get to a stage where unfortunately, Kat wasn't able to go for the walks every single morning. Between when she got a bit sick or she had a lot on her plate with work and uni, suddenly it wasn't all able to be, let's both get up as early as possible and go for a walk. This was when the challenge began. It was at this stage I had to develop a whole new method on how am I going to make sure I can keep doing this. The answer was simple. How about we just go for a walk? I'll show you.
I will admit, being able to get views like this simply by walking outside has made this whole endeavour a whole lot easier. I mean, I look forward to my walk purely because when I come out in the morning, I'm thinking I get to see the sunrise over places like this, and it's amazing. I may be lucky enough to live next to Linear Park, but there's got to be somewhere near you that is just as beautiful to see. It doesn't have to be a park, it can just be the way the city looks when the sun hits it. You've got to see where the beauty is and with where you live. Hopefully I can clean it up so that sounds a bit better, but if not, hopefully you know where I'm coming from. You've got to find where beauty is, and suddenly it becomes a lot more easy to get out of bed. I could sit in bed, look at my phone for another hour if I wanted to every morning, and hey, I wouldn't, wish I got that time back, but I can achieve just as much, if not a whole lot more, surrounded by some amazing lights, amazing colours. You actually enjoy what you're doing. Getting out of bed for this, it's a lot easier. The idea of silence and serenity isn't your thing. The other beauty about going for walks are these babies. No, I'm not trying to milk an ad for Apple with the AirPods, but get on them. When it's this quiet all around you and you got yourself some decent music to listen to, or honestly, my favourite thing in walks, podcasts or audiobooks, you just can go in your own world in pure peace, tranquility, serenity, all those other words that you never actually see people use in their day-to-day life unless they're quoting The Castle or a inspirational post they saw on Instagram. Again, just thinking, hey, there's another episode of this. I can't wait to be able to listen to that in my own time, in my own world. Or I got to find out what happens next on this next chapter of this book I'm on. It becomes a lot easier to get out of bed. Because believe me, the part that I always struggled with was getting out of bed. I, for years and years, would wake up, go for a walk for a couple of days, and then one day just think, oh no, I'll give it a miss this morning, and then that becomes the next day, then that becomes the next day, and then suddenly I haven't gone for a walk in months, and I'm back in the old habits. Ever since I started walking with audiobooks or podcasts, I now look forward to getting up in the morning. Now, framing's going to be a little bit hard in this one because this is me literally just using my phone's camera, so if there gets a few intimate close-ups, it is also the only real way I can do this without my arm falling asleep. To James' arm, sorry, that takes it out of you after a while. And I want to try and avoid filming other people. Don't want to upload stuff to the internet without their permission, but also don't want to be chasing people down to get that permission. When exercise becomes something that you look forward to, it becomes something you generally stop making excuses for. And now, obviously, what works to me doesn't work for everyone, but I reckon I tried to lose weight via primarily walking 4 or 5 times in my life, and this is the first time that it stuck, because I guess I treated it like a chore. I got into the mentality of if I don't want to do it, I won't do it. And then I never wanted to do it. So I guess the big secret for me was finding out what made me want to do it. The average length of this particular walk I'm doing now is 5.42 kilometers. Takes me about 50 minutes if I don't do any running or jogging, just walking at a slightly faster than normal pace. I do this version of the walk probably twice a week, just because it's an hour of my day. I do normally do a much shorter version of the walk, which is basically where the time lapse ends. I effectively turn back towards home via a path that cuts a bit of it out. That walk is 4Ks almost bang on. Takes me about 35-40 minutes. That's the one I do pretty much every single morning. I'm basically getting up an hour earlier than normal if I wasn't going to do a walk. Get up about 6, leave the house at about 5-10 past. I'm normally home by 6:45. That gives me time to have a shower. Once I'm at the shower, suddenly it's 7 o'clock, and that's the time that I would get up if I wasn't doing a walk. So my day hasn't got interrupted. It's 1 hour less sleep. You just go to bed 1 hour earlier, and that's what I can do every single day. The other great part about doing a walk in a place that's literally got the word park in its name, you see a lot of dogs, and if that doesn't make your day a little bit better, then you're not the sort of person I want to know. Always wondered, could you train a cat to be able to be taken on a walk like a dog? Now, I'm not saying the cats that I've got will be able to do that, but it's just one of those things where cats are pretty smart, they know what they're doing. But then thinking of my 2 cats, one of them, the second you give it the opportunity, he'll just run and you'll just, who knows when he's coming back. And then the other one is so terrified of everything, he would be on your feet like cement shoes, begging to go back home. The hardest part is when it's freezing cold and bucketing down with rain first thing in the morning. Now, I don't want to get into the habit of making excuses to never ever do walks, so that was probably the biggest hurdle I had to overcome to make this part of my normal life. The way I handled that was when the rain started coming down at the very beginning of the walk, so it was very cold at the very beginning of when we started doing walk, where it wasn't just something that I did. That morning I woke up, I didn't go. However, the very first thing I did was check the weather, see what it was going to be like that night, and I made sure if it wasn't bucketing down that night. I went that night. I will admit there's been days where it's rained multiple days in a row to the point that it's like, you know what, you're never going to get this window of time to go for a walk. Well, I mean, I don't have to tell you. The answer that I found was I got up anyway. I did it anyway. But if that's not something you can do, there are other alternatives to working out without joining a gym or paying an exorbitant amount of money that don't involve walking outside in the rain either. The biggest thing that I found that's made the transition to exercise without it necessarily being a daily walk was skipping. As an adult, I've always associated skipping as that thing you did in school while listening to Beat It by Michael Jackson for a jump rope for heart. I found I was burning probably twice as much calories in the same amount of time skipping versus a walk. If I wasn't able to squeeze in a 40-minute walk, but I was able to do a 15-20-minute session with a skipping rope, that was enough. If some days I felt like I could only do 10, I still did something. I still didn't make an excuse to not go out. I still didn't try and normalize not doing walks. My arms are tired. And I'm going to be honest, a big motivating factor for why I wanted to do this was my own self-esteem. I started at the very end of winter last year, so by the time I got towards summer, it was already at that stage. I've been doing it for about 2.5, 3 months. Right when things started to get really difficult and I kept thinking maybe today I skip it. That was right around the time that I started to show physical results and I was starting to get compliments for the work I was doing at work. People asking me what I was doing. They've pointed out how much better I was looking, not just for the weight loss, but just happier I was, healthier I was. And suddenly I realized, hey, you know what? Maybe going through that grind is worth it. Maybe it's just a little rain. Maybe it's just a little hot. To get that correlation of that little bit of struggle, that little bit of punishment was directly associated with people actually taking notice of what I was doing and me feeling better about myself. In my head, it got to the mindset of not going was the wrong thing to do. Staying in bed, resting, instead of, you know, just 1 hour of work. Suddenly it became too hard to not walk. It was a great mentality because I got to the stage where if for some reason I truly decided to not go in the morning because I got a shit night's sleep, because the weather was awful, I'd spend that whole day at work thinking, can't wait to go home and go for a walk. So the only thing I want to do now is go for a walk. And it was at that stage I realised I can now do this. I've got a little bit of work done, made a little bit of progress, but suddenly it became what I wanted to be doing. It was a punishment to not walk. Plus, let's be real here, for every one rainy day or 40-degree blistering heat day, there's about 3 or 4 days that are absolute pearlers like this, where I'd honestly feel like I'd be letting myself down just to not be able to be outside for that little bit more, just to experience it. Because, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I love laying in the couch, laying in bed, rugged up on a cold day. At the same time, it just feels nice to be out in weather like this.
So if I could sum it up very, very quickly, the easiest way to start walking is try and see if you can do it with someone else. If you can't do it with someone else, that's fine. Try and get something like audiobooks or podcasts. It becomes a lot easier to get up and do the walk if you feel like you're going to get some form of entertainment out of it. If you live in an area which has got a park or a trail or a hiking location, by all means, just see it. Don't even have to have headphones in. I mean, I still do, but just exploring a new side of nature that you might not have actually seen before, an area that you've lived in and grown up in and walked through all the time, you get to see it in a whole new light. It's mind-blowing. It was great. I look forward to it, and I'm probably the most annoying person in the world on Instagram because all I'm doing is sharing the same photos of the same path, but it's me seeing it every day and it still has that beauty. Now, if walking's not your thing, again, I really enjoy skipping. Great thing about skipping is you don't need any real space to do it. You can do it almost anywhere. All you need is to be able to buy a $20 skipping rope. The skipping is great. It's fun. You burn so much so fast. Again, you'll achieve what you want in 10 minutes skipping than what you would 20 minutes of walking. The biggest thing is there are all sorts of ways you can actually have genuine fun doing this daily exercise. And once you do it so often, it no longer becomes a punishment to wake up in the morning, it becomes a punishment to stay in bed. That's how I look at things now, and honestly, I look forward to that walk every day. That's how I do it. It's worked for me. I do hope it works for you. Stay tuned. My next video is going to be filmed in a bit of a different manner. It's going to be me covering how I managed a vegan diet. If you guys want to ask me some questions in the lead up, again, I'm going to probably take about 2 weeks before I prep the next video. Ask away. I'd love to approach some of your questions because there are probably some things that you've thought about doing yourself that you don't know how you're going to do it. I'd love to answer those questions because if I can help people make those changes that they don't think they're able to make, I mean, that's what this is all about. If I can do that, that'll be awesome. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.